Greetings, astrology aficionados. Today I would like to discuss the Novenaria of the moon. And the Novenaria, the term Novenaria means ninth part, okay? And they represent equal divisions, 9 equal divisions of 3 degrees, 20 minutes apiece for every sign. So let's talk briefly about how to calculate the Novenaria, the ninth parts. Since there are 9 of them per sign, then there are going to be 3 per decan. Now, to remind those of you who might not know, a decan is a 10-degree division of a sign. And since there are 30 degrees in a sign, there are 3 decans, 3 decanic faces, as they're sometimes called. So this is the nativity of John Wayne Gacy, American serial killer, rapist. He murdered something to the tune of 33 young boys, adolescent boys, and young adult males, dozens and dozens of them. And so it makes sense that the ninth part of his moon must reveal something about his predilection for perversions, right? Because all the planets and signs, all the house cusps, all the astrologicals cast ninth parts, but we're only going to concern ourselves with the ninth part of the moon because it has something to say about the person's future spouse, and it has something to say about their sexual predilections. So let's discuss how to calculate them. Since there are 3 ninth parts per decan, right? Then we'll start with the very first one here of Pisces, because we're going to examine the ninth part of Gacy's moon here at 28 degrees 49 minutes of Pisces. In the final decan, it's actually in the final ninth part, the final ninth division of Pisces. So the first ninth part of any sign is going to be ruled by the cardinal sign of that element. So the first ninth part of Sagittarius, for instance, is going to belong to Aries and Mars. The first ninth part of Virgo, for instance, is going to belong to Capricorn and Saturn, because these are the cardinal signs. So all of the signs in any element are going to have the same ninth parts, right? So let's start with Pisces. The cardinal sign of the water element is Cancer. Therefore, Cancer is the first ninth part of Pisces, going from 0 degrees to 3 degrees 20 minutes. From 3 degrees 20 minutes to 6 degrees 40 minutes is going to be Leo, because once we establish the first ninth part, then the rest of the ninth parts follow in the order of the signs. Okay, so the first ninth part of watery Pisces is Cancer, cardinal Cancer. The second ninth part is Leo, ruled by the sun, and then the third ninth part, going from 6 degrees 40 minutes to 10 degrees even, is going to belong to Virgo and Mercury. So now we get to decan number 2. Right? And going from 10 degrees to 13 degrees 20 minutes is the Libra ninth part, right? 13 degrees 20 minutes to 16 degrees 40 minutes is going to be the Scorpionic ninth part, the Scorpio ninth part. Then after that, 16 degrees 40 minutes to 20 degrees even is going to be the Sagittarius ninth part. So that brings us to the third decan. Right? Going from 20 degrees to 23 degrees 20 minutes is going to be the Capricorn ninth part. Then 23 degrees 20 minutes to 26 degrees 40 minutes is going to be the Aquarius ninth part. And then finally, 26 degrees 40 minutes until the end of the sign is going to be the Pisces ninth part of Pisces. And so the moon falls in that part, the night that Piscean ninth part, and Jupiter rules it. So this brings us to a consideration of Jupiter. Right? Jupiter is the ruler of John Wayne Gacy's lunar ninth part. We might say that his moon casts a ninth part into this area, into Jupiter, we might say. Okay. Now, we figured out how to calculate the ninth part. How do we delineate it? That's the big question here. Well, first we notice that Jupiter is in detriment. So this is going to represent debauchery. This is going to represent a stain on the sexuality and marriage life of the native. because Jupiter is in detriment, and Jupiter is also assembled with Mars. Now, this assembly with Mars, I think, is what gives John Wayne Gacy the homosexual leanings. Okay, now this guy had a serial killer, okay? Dozens of males that he killed, and the thing that he had a problem with was being labeled a homosexual. That's what bothered him the most. So, obviously a disturbed individual. Now, Jupiter, again, is detrimented in Gemini, which means that his marriage life and his sexuality is going to be countercultural against the prevailing culture. And while homosexuality is certainly not countercultural, especially not in this day and age, back in the early 70s when Gacy was operating, maybe it was, but homosexuality is certainly not perverse, but sexual homicide is perverse. And again, the assembly with Mars brings in this element of sexual homicide. Now, interestingly enough, Gacy was famous for playing tricks. Being a trickster was an important part of his modus operandi. He would play, he had the handcuff trick and other tricks where, put on these I put on the handcuffs and then I get out of them. See, aren't I cool? Now you try it. Right? And so the guy puts on the handcuffs. Well, I don't get the trick. And John Wayne Gacy would dangle the key and say, well, the trick is you have to have the key. And then he would asphyxiate the kid. Son of a bitch buried like 33 kids in his yard. I mean, he buried them in his basement, for crying out loud. So this Jupiter is a trickster Jupiter. A canny astrologer, a very clever astrologer, casting the ninth part for this moon would notice this trickster Jupiter and say, this man is a sexual deceiver. He's a sexual deceiver. Now, interestingly enough, Gacy had 2 marriages, and of course, Gemini is a bicorporeal sign, a mutable sign, multi-bodied. He had 2 marriages, and in his first one, he and his wife engaged in swinging and wife swapping and things of that nature. That's certainly a match for the detrimented Jupiter in Gemini in the 7th, right? And this is all coming out from Gacy's moon, from the 9th part of Gacy's moon, okay? Swinging, wife swapping, things like that. His second wife, he married, his second wife, there wasn't so much the wife swapping, but by this time, by the second marriage, Gacy was warming up to his homosexuality and really embracing it. And so on one Mother's Day, he had sex with his wife and informed her, this is the last time we are doing the horizontal bop. I suppose he thought it was a Mother's Day gift. Some kind of a gift. Eventually, he started bringing young underage boys into his garage and assaulting them in there. And so eventually the wife divorced him. Understandably, she divorced him. But Gacy was a JC, a very successful businessman. Had quite a bit of money. He was a JC, and so he would have these parties filled with debauchery in his basement. And all of this is coming out from the 9th part of John Wayne Gacy's moon. So now you know how to calculate the 9th parts, and really you could construct an entire chart based upon the 9th parts, because the ascendant casts a 9th part, all the planets have 9th parts, but we focus on the moon in order to understand the private desires of the native and something about her or his married life. So appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Check me out on Facebook.com. My page is Fated Crossings. Would love to hear from you. And reach out to me if you would like a reading. I love doing astrology, and all I do is look at charts. This is my full-time job, and I really enjoy helping people connect to their chart and really to back off of the enslaving false values of the chart and to liberate themselves with their nativity. So give me an email, drop me a line, and if you would like for me to explore your birth chart with you, then I would love to do that. Have a wonderful day.